What is going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday. It's a nice cloudy day, looking like it's about to rain. We're supposed to get some rain anyway. The next couple of days it's supposed to rain. Hurricanes coming onto the into the Gulf in Florida. It's supposed to go up the East Coast, and where I'm at in Virginia, we're expecting to get a little bit of rain in a day or two. But it's been raining the past couple of days anyway. But thinking about a hurricane, make sure you're prepared for that. Make sure your vehicles have fuel in them, that they're topped off, that you have extra fuel in gas cans, simple things like that. Make sure your generator's running. Make sure your refrigerator, it's easily you can hook things up. You need to get some plywood if you haven't already. Board up your windows, especially if you're down near Florida where things tend to be a lot worse anyway. I think everybody should have cutouts all ready to go, especially if you live down there. You know what I mean? Like, you should have shutters on your windows, in my opinion. Things like that. You need to be preemptive about natural disasters, and not just that, the looting that goes on after the fact, in case something really bad happens. I think I talked about this before a little bit, how it's not just the normal looters anymore in America. It's other individuals that aren't supposed to be here. It's going to be a lot worse going forward with millions of extra people in the country. So you need to be aware of that as well. There's something else that I wanted to talk about. Well, two other things. I saw a story on Newsmax last night, and it was getting late, and I didn't make a video about it. I didn't talk about it, and I wanted to do it this morning. I got up real early, and I went to go look for the story, and I couldn't find it. But there was a certain pharmaceutical recall for a certain disease that had a recall in it. And apparently that medicine that you take for certain 2020 diseases had glass in it. It said that, from what I remember the story saying, it said that nobody used it yet, like they caught it in time, apparently. But if you look over the last 4 years and you see the amount of death and just random, unexplained, sudden, don't know how it happened, heart attacks, blood clots, all this horrific things happening to people, do you really think this is the first time? And it's fun. It's not funny, but it's strange that this morning when I got up and I wanted to go find the story, I looked for a good long while looking for it, and I can't find it. But I don't remember which one it was either. Desipine, something, I don't know, I can't even pronounce it anyway. But a certain one of them, like I said, it had foreign contaminants of glass particles in it. And if you imagine what that would do if it got into your bloodstream. And if anybody can find that article, that news article, can you put it in the comments so I can see it again, so I can read more about it? But it's weird how certain things that I see on the news, I'll go look them up a day or so later. I'll try to find it to look more into it, and I can't find it. It's weird. It seems like they pull certain things, like, oh man, you shouldn't have, we shouldn't have done that one. We got to take that one down real quick. And it goes to show you who's in charge. There's a narrative going. There is a push, a certain direction that they want people to learn. That's just my opinion. Although I'm pretty sure at this point it's fact, but how do you prove that without having really big computers doing algorithms showing you, the proof, which I think somebody just did. There was a guy on Joe Rogan that was talking about that, showing that the Google algorithm persuades people when it was like scientific proof that happened. But I just wanted to make people aware that if you're still considering taking those things 4 years later, certain ones, and that's just one of them. I saw other ones that had other particles in it, and not to mention all the other crazy side effects that happen with people. So, you might want to look into that one a little bit. That, and there was one more thing I wanted to talk about, and that was in Missouri. A gentleman convicted of murder was sentenced to death yesterday. Lethal injection. He's been on death row for 20 plus years, and they had to stay on it, and they were trying to get it overturned. Something about evidence being tampered with, and even the prosecutor was saying, we need to stop this and reconfigure it to where it's just life in prison, not lethal injection. And my thought on this is this. It's almost election time. It's riot season. I'm surprised it hasn't started yet. And I've said this before as well. They're trying to stir up the racism. They're trying to stir up the Black Lives Matter thing. Like, look, there was this guy accused of murder, and apparently he told his cellmate, I don't know how true this is, but there was, apparently the cellmate talked to somebody and said, yeah, he told me about it in detail. He explained how he did it. He apparently broke in and stabbed somebody like 40 times, and then he was found pawning the computer and something that had like a purse or something, I don't remember. And he had blood on his shirt, his girlfriend at the time. This was back in 2001 or something. But there's a huge uproar about it. All, the political system or the judicial system, the Supreme Court, they didn't want to have a say in it, and it was denied. His stay was denied a couple times. And I have conflicting issues with the death penalty, and not so much if people should die or not. Like, of course, people that hurt children and murderers and rapists and stuff like that, I think they deserve the death penalty. But my issue with it is, who's in charge of the death penalty? Is the government? Is the United States government is in charge of the death penalty? That is the only issue I have with it. That's why I'm concerned with the death penalty, because the United States government is in charge of it. You've seen every day, time after time, year after year, decade after decade, how corrupt the United States government is. They shouldn't be in charge of the death penalty. And you say, oh, well, it's not the federal government, it's the state government. Most state governments aren't any better. I promise you that. Most state governments are just as corrupt. Where there is power, whether it's local, whether it's state or federal, there is corruption. I just read a story yesterday about a lady near me embezzling over the last 8 years like over $100,000. She was a treasurer of a church. Even power in a church, there's corruption. People sin. Human beings, we are all sinners. Some greater than others. I sin. I don't embezzle money, and I don't murder, and I don't rape, but everybody has, everybody messes up. Some worse than others. And what I'm getting at with that is, it shouldn't be up to a select few that think they have more power than everybody else to be in charge of whether somebody dies or not. That being said, the guy murdered somebody and he was proven guilty and he died. So, it happened. It is what it is. It sucks, but it is what it is. Don't think for a second that the Black Lives Matter movement isn't going to try to use this. Don't think that Al Sharpton in all his racial glory think that, he's not going to use this. Somebody told me a long time ago that, if racism wasn't around, Al Sharpton wouldn't have a job, because that's all they do is bring up race. Look up any news article, anything on the news. Black man, white man. What about just an American? It is always race. There's always race dug into it some way or another. He was an American that murdered somebody and he got the death penalty. How about you have the story like that? You can say American or an illegal, and that's I think, more acceptable, because that's what it is. There's Americans and there's people that aren't supposed to be here. They come here illegally. They broke in and they're killing people. You can see video and story after story about that. There's a police officer that was it a hit and run up in New York, maybe just a little while ago. An illegal from Venezuela. You can see illegals in other cities taking over. You see gangs, American gangs, which I'm not saying they're any better, but they're fighting with the illegal gangs coming up here. It is story after story about just murder and mayhem and just division all the time. We need to stop talking about race. We need to stop talking about, this dude's black, this dude's white. We need to start discussing the problem. And the problem is what the people are doing. Just like gun violence. It's not the gun, it is the person. The violence is the person, the sin that they are, acting on. That's where the problem is. It's not the race. It's not the inanimate object. It's the person. It is the sin. I don't know, man. I wanted to talk about those two things. This storm's coming up, and apparently it's going to be really bad. So just get prepared for really bad weather if you're on the East Coast. If you're down in Florida, we'll pray for you. It's looking like it's supposed to get pretty bad. Apparently, storm of the century again. The media has you freaked out. It could potentially get that bad. But just, if you're an everyday prepper, if you are, into emergency preparedness, if you are into that anyway, it wouldn't be that, it would be a big deal, but it wouldn't be as stressful. And that's why you need to prepare for things, so you don't have to worry and stress. You've done as much as you could have. Instead of going out and partying, buy a generator. Instead of going out and buying, $80 to go to the movies, you can buy some plywood and board up your house. Take precautions. Get some food. Get some candles. Get extra fuel. Get oil for your lamps. Buy matches. Buy waterproof matches. Buy a life vest if you're really close to the ocean. We need to start getting prepared for things. We can all see what's going on. The destruction of America is upon us. It is here. It's not in the distance. There's no more road to kick the can down. The road stops. The sidewalk ends. And what was that, a book back in 5th grade? The sidewalk is over, dude. The cliff is here. There's no going back. You're either prepared for certain things to happen or you're not. So just get ready for anything and everything. Make sure you read your Bible. Get prepared for Him too. Y'all have a fantastic Wednesday, and I will talk to you later.